For this video, we're going to talk about how to learn new music. And when we learn new music, there's a couple of things I would like you to have with you. Pencil would be the first. For pencil, it's just to write down all the heights. And so, for example, during crescendo, different drums at a different time during the crescendo, like you have different height just to make a lot of things easier, just to define things a little bit more so we know how loud or how soft you're going to be playing to make the crescendo more effective. And write down sticking. So for a lot of our unison or even split, sometimes it's more comfortable to play one hand over the other. So that is super important. And a lot of the information you will learn throughout, not everyone learned the same. Some notes might help you out understand and remember a little better. So just have that pencil handy with you just to write it down. It's going to be super helpful. And a lot of the information being given to you during rehearsal, you might think that you remember all the information, but you'd be surprised how many times back at home when you're trying to practice and you forgot the information, and you just said to yourself that you should have written that down. So that's super important. And a couple of days ago, I watched Lionel Lewis videos, and in the middle of the video, he was saying that the shortened pencil is longer than the longest memory, and that is certainly super true. So just make sure that you're not just assuming that you're going to remember everything, and just to be safe, just write everything down. Alright, now let's look at some example. For this one, we're going to be using 16 note parrot. So the first thing I like to do when I get my music is I like to section it out. So for this one, you can already see there's a 4/4 section right here, and let's call that section A. And now next is a 2/4 section. Let's call that B. And just make sure as you go through, look at all the signs and symbols. So now this one we have a repeat, right? And the last one, the 5/4, let's call this a C. And guess what? You play that 4 times. So as you go through the first round, just make sure you look at everything, how the structure work. And next thing, what I'd like to do next, I'd like to get the height written down, get the sticking written down. So for this one, obviously it doesn't have any height marking. But for example, if you get your show music, all the dynamic marking, I would normally just write it down, what height I'm supposed to be playing for a guideline, so that as you practice your first time, you get it right at the beginning, so that you don't have to come back and retrace your step and then like relearn everything to get, again. Alright, so after that, I'm going to be using my highlighter. So let's say I'm playing bass 4, I'm just going to highlight my bass 4 part. So just go, alright, playing and okay, now moving up 1 partial to N, and then move to E. 2 bars later, moving to the downbeat. Alright, since a pattern, and then I'm rest. Alright, okay, let's keep going to the B section. 2 counts, and for 2 counts, E for 2 counts, and then downbeat for 2 counts, and then rest for 2 counts. Alright, that's the same pattern, just 2 counts now. And then the last one, and E, downbeat, rest, 1. Alright, so even without you hitting the drum once, you can already figure it out, like, okay, I'm moving 1 partial back at a time as I'm playing through this. So that's why it's super important that you understand the structure of the exercise, you understand the pattern of the exercise, so you're not just blindly just go in and just try to drum through everything without understanding it. Understanding it just make a lot of things easier. So, alright, so next, as a bass drummer, as a bass drum player, so you play a lot of isolated part, you play by yourself sometimes, so it's super important that you play it with a metronome. And just line it up for this exercise, you're going to be playing with your feet. So super important that you find that downbeat, find that composite rhythm, so that you can anchor it with something, figure out how it related to your feet. Super important. If you can't play with your feet, you can't play in march. So super important to play with your feet. Alright, next. Obviously you're going to go practice one section at a time. That's the whole point of this. Practice one section. Let's go practice A section first. After you get that A section down, move on to B. After you got the B down, move on to C. And let's look at this real quick. So first A section, you got a 4/4, even number every time you come back to your left foot. B section, you got a 2/4, you come back to the left foot, right? Now that's an odd number on the 5/4. Now for this one, you play 4 times. So obviously each time you go, the first time you start out with the left foot, and then the second round you come back, you're going to start with your right foot. So for this one, I would recommend you just practice, let's say, just 1 bar at a time. Alright, let's play 1 bar and with the right foot. Do that a couple times and then start with the right foot. Just play same thing, 1 rep at a time. Just start with the right foot and come back and end at the left foot. And after that, let's just do 2 reps. You start with the left foot, end with the left foot, and then do 4. And practicing it this way will help you just to understand, not just play through it, just to play through it, understand it, so you can get better at it. Alright, and now next, you got each section down. Let's practice the transition going in and out of it. So let's say we practice A to B. Let's just play through A and going into B, repeat it twice and stop. So the objective of this one right here is to bridge right here, this gap right here, to this one, because we've been practicing A alone, B alone, C alone. So now you just put it together, smaller chunk at a time. So now you play A to B. After you've done that, you got that transition down. Now you go B to C. Just practice B and go to the end, go to C. After you get that down, now you just play the whole thing. And as you play the whole thing, just make sure you play the section itself and don't think of it as just like, oh, now I'm gonna play like so long of an exercise. Just think about the section and the transition itself, so you have a little bit less work to do. You don't have to think so far ahead, just a little bit at a time. For this video, I'm going to be talking about how to use a notation software to help you practice new music at home. The process of this method will help you understand the format and the flow of the exercise a little bit better. And by inputting your part into a notation software, you will understand the value of the rest and your notes of your part a little better. The first step I like to start this with is to just input my part into the notation software. By isolating your part out, you will only get to see and hear just your part and only focus on what you need. The reason why I like to use this tool is that you can only get to see your part and you're not going to get distracted by what other drums are playing. For this example, I will be playing bass 4 part of the exercise Parrot. After you get more comfortable playing the part by yourself, the next step I like to take is to input all of the part into the notation software. By inputting the part into the notation software, this way you get to hear all of the part and see the bigger picture of the exercise, and this way you get more comfortable of what being played around you. This is paired with all 5 bass parts. For this video, I'm going to be talking about timing with the focus on how your hands and your prep relates to your feet. Making sure your feet are directly with the metronome is super important so that when the metronome is gone, you have a reliable time source. Next is how the prep can help you create a consistent sound and timing. In order to make a consistent sound and timing, your prep also need to be as consistent as possible between a downbeat and upbeat. Here's an exercise that I use to help with my prep. This exercise might look very straightforward, but if you practice this exercise often, this can help you with your prep timing and rhythm accuracy. By using your feet as a time source, you can make an adjustment to your prep based on how early or late you are in relation to your feet. The two most common tendency are we like to be early on our prep to the downbeat and we like to be late to the upbeat. Here is an example of an exercise without thinking about the prep. Pay attention to the inconsistency between the sound and the prep and how that affects the timing. This is the exercise applying the prep timing in coordination with the feet.